Best practices in deposit return, building an effective, convenient, and efficient program for beverage containers in Europe. First, you have to establish an effective deposit value. Generally speaking, the higher the deposit value, the higher the rate of return. This figure from the recent Eunomia Consulting report shows the relationship between redemption rates and the deposit value. A 10-cent deposit can produce redemption rates of 80 to 90%. Program scope. The long-term effectiveness of the program relies on applying the deposit to as many container types as possible. The deposit should apply to all containers like water, soft drinks, juices, beer, sports drinks, but usually exclude milk. The program should allow for a phased-in approach of additional containers over time. Minimum convenience standards. Redemption rates are also impacted by the convenience of return in terms of location, distance, and overall experience. The more convenient the system, the more likely individuals will want to return their containers. Minimum convenience standards can be facilitated by regulations requiring any beverage retailer with a minimum specified floor space to make redemption of deposit-bearing containers available on their premises or within a certain distance from their premises. End-of-life criteria specify when certain waste ceases to be waste and obtains a status of a secondary raw material. In general, its purpose is to guarantee that recycling of end-of-life material occurs the way it should, upcycling versus downcycling. To date, the European Commission has set down end-of-waste criteria for iron, steel, and aluminum scrap. Next waste streams to be addressed include copper, scrap metal, recovered paper, glass cullet, plastics, and biodegradable waste and compost. Centralized clearinghouse. Ideally, a modern deposit return system would establish either a governmental or independent not-for-profit agency to operate the system. This centralized clearinghouse administers both the collection of deposits and payment of refunds. An example of a clearinghouse can be found in Denmark, where the Dansk Return system acts as a clearinghouse for deposits. Another example is Returpack in Sweden. In addition to refunding the deposit, Returpack also pays a handling fee to retailers for every container returned. Mandatory targets. Deposit return legislation should specify mandatory targets for collection, recycling, and convenience levels. These targets should be material specific, and these targets should increase gradually over time to encourage greater levels of diversion. And legislation must include penalties for failing to meet these targets.